Hey everyone, Dino here, and welcome to the first guide for how to start active fishing in Black Desert Online. Today's episode, we will be covering how to create your own fishing boat. I know that currently obtaining a fishing boat is tough to get off the marketplace, so hopefully you'll find this guide helpful in creating your own boat. To start, you will need approximately 26 total contribution points for this. However, that will vary based on the route which you would like to go. First thing that you'll need to do is go to Port Opheria, and in building 3-5 second floor is the Shipyard. You'll need a level 2 Shipyard for this, so once you obtain the Shipyard, you'll just need to level it up, and you can obtain it using 12 contribution points, going from 3-1 to 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 3-5 first floor, and then grab 3-5 the second floor, which is where the Shipyard will be. Since you're going to need some additional workers in order to process all this material to build a boat, I would highly suggest grabbing the 2 additional lodging spots in Port Opheria at 2-1 as well as 1-1, which both cost 1 contribution point, so your total contribution points for Opheria will be 14. First up, from a gathering perspective for the boat, you'll need 25 Useable Scantling. Useable Scantling comes from processing 10 logs to 1 Useable Scantling, so for this you will need 250 logs. Logs can be obtained by any tree in the game, and since you also need birch for the boat, your best bet is to heading to areas like Bee Tree Ruins and chopping birch trees up in the mountains in order to get both birch timber as well as logs. And since I understand that actively farming birch is not the most exciting thing in the world, you can also have workers help you out. For 6 contribution points, if you start in Calpheon, you can then go to Dias Farm, the Northern Wheat Plantation, then head over to Old Dandelion. In that Old Dandelion, there is 1 birch timber lumbering node that you can use with your workers on. The third method for obtaining birch is purely passive. You will need 19 contribution points in order for this scenario to work, and that is because the first method that you'll need is to connect Calpheon to Dias Farm to the Northern Wheat Plantation, then Old Dandelion, which you should have in the first method. You then go from Northern Wheat Plantation to Bernetto Farm, then up to Bee Tree Ruins, which also has a node. And then off of Bernetto Farm, you go to the Anti-Troll Fortification, Isolated Sentry Post, and then grab the birch node at Quint Hill. Since you'll also need workers for this, you'll need additional 3 contribution points to total 19, which you can grab in Calpheon from both the Northern Gate location as well as the Market Street locations. No matter the method that you decide on, you will need 2,500 birch timber in order to make 50 birch plywood. In order to get birch plywood, you need to chop birch timber into birch planks. Once you have birch planks, you will then need to process chop birch planks into birch plywood. Next, you will need to create 25 bronze ingots. Bronze ingots can be obtained by process heating 5 copper shards to 5 tin shards. To obtain copper ore, which will be heated into copper shards, you will need to connect Velia to Coastal Cave for 1 contribution point, then grab the copper node for an additional contribution point. If you already have workers in Velia farming potatoes, then you may need to grab some additional lodging, which will be found in Velia in the first 3 rooms. Once you have 625 ore, you will then be able to melt it down as ore heats to 5-to-1 ratio, and you will need 5 shards to 1 bronze bar, thus 625 ore is your aim goal. Next, you can head back over to Corrado Cave and grab the tin node, if you have not already done so, in order to farm 625 ore with your worker that you can then melt into enough shards to melt together with the processing skill with the copper shards that you have already melted down in order to get you the 25 bronze ingots that are needed. Next resource to gather is pine sap. Pine sap can be obtained by using a fluid collector on pine trees. As you can tell on the map, I'm currently at Mascowl's Forest, which has a whole line of pine trees that will have all the pine sap that you need. 30 shouldn't take too long, as you can just buy 3 base level fluid collectors from a material vendor, which have 10 durability each, and knock it out in 3 durability runs. Next up is blackstone powder. Blackstone powder can be either found at a refinery, which would be processing rough stones that your workers would do for you, or you press L on your menu and go to grinding and find a basic enhancement gem from the marketplace. You can grind that into Blackstone powder yourself. I would suggest this method as it's probably cheaper for you and less contribution points, just buying cheap gems off the auction house to grind into Blackstone powder. And considering all that you need is 30, it shouldn't take too long for you to obtain that. Last but not least, the last thing that you need to obtain is flax fabric. Now, you can go the long route of putting contribution points into Heidel and then farming it yourself, which can be found at Morietti Farm right off of Heidel. However, I would suggest just buying it off the auction house, as all that you need is 16, and that will run you at the time of this video 163,000. So it's probably just better off from a time perspective and money perspective just buying it off the auction house. You can find this by marketplace, going to flax at the top of search, and you'll see that it's currently 10,196 for one, and since you nixed 16, it's just 163,136, which you should have handy. If not, your route would be to farm flax, then heat the flax to flax threads, and then grind flax thread into flax fabric, and that's really just not a good use of time in order to build this. A suggestion for creating your fishing boat would be, once you have materials in Etheria, start working on it immediately. It'll take a while for your workers to create all these materials into the finished product of the fishing boat license, so there's really no benefit in trying to collect everything at once then starting. You can also have multiple workers working on the same material. So if you have 3 workers in Etheria and they each have 10 action points, you can have all 3 work on pine sap or blackstone powder, and it will be done in one full complete cycle of your workers. Once you have your workers complete all tasks, your shipping license will then be in the storage in Etheria, and all you need to do is put it in your inventory, walk down to the dock manager, and register boat with him. I hope you all have happy sailings, and please check back for episode 2, which will be a fishing guide now that you have your brand new shiny boat. If you have any questions, you can either ask in the comments below, or you can stop into my stream on Twitch at twitch.brutalityx, which is in the link below. Or if you have other questions, you can follow me and ask me on Twitter at DinoBrutalityX. I hope this guide is helpful to you, and I hope to see you next time for the next episode. Take care.